The other day, I was on my way to my friend's house for a craft day and decided to stop at one of my favorite beaches to knit with the birds and admire the changing leaves. The night before, I cast on a new project. Every year, I try to make at least one new beanie for myself, and this year, I decided to make one using my own spindle spun yarn. The yarn that I created for this hat is extra special. The reason why is because I blended two different fibers together that had been gifted to me by two different friends. About 2 years ago, one of my best friends, Clara, gave me some Angora fiber for my birthday that she got from a yarn shop local to her. I tried spinning the Angora on its own and it was very difficult. I decided I would need to blend it with another fiber. This summer, my other friend, Antonella, who I met from this community and is a dyer behind Cozy Posy Yarn Co., sent me a beautiful braid of fiber that had oranges and gray in it. I thought this would be a perfect braid to blend the Angora with. When it came to applying the yarn, I originally thought I would want to apply 2 singles together. This quickly proved to come out way too thin that I would want to knit with, so then I decided to apply 3 singles together and it was perfect. I knew right off the bat that I wanted to make a winter beanie with this yarn and wanted it to be a very basic hat pattern, so all the attention would be on the yarn. I've been wanting to make the weekend hat from Petite knit ever since it came out, so I thought, what a perfect opportunity. It's currently a Sunday afternoon. I don't even know what Sunday it is. The last one in October. And I've just been bopping around the house doing a variety of different crafts and cleaning. And I wanted to sit down and just talk about some of the stuff that I've been working on today. I got back from visiting my friend in Duluth yesterday, and it was a beautiful couple of days up there. The weather was really nice. She was up there for work and I ended up going to a coffee shop and I knit there for like 3 hours, and I was working on the hat that I showed in the beginning of this video, and here is how far I got with that. So as I was talking about earlier, this is the weekend hat by Petite knit, and yeah, I knit up until I ran out of yarn, but that's okay because I still have more fiber left to spin for this, which I've been spinning this morning, and I'm pretty confident that I'll have enough to finish the hat. But this hat eats up quite a bit of yarn because it has a double folded brim and it's a really thick brim as well. So here's how long it is so far. And I'm pretty close to the point where I'll start decreasing for the end. So I'm really close to having this done. But I so far think that this hat is going to be probably one of my favorite hat patterns. I just really like how thick the brim is. It creates a bit more structure on the head, and I've knit a few other beanies in the past and I've run into the problem. I think it might be more of a yarn choice than the pattern itself, but it just feels like the folded brim in the hat in general just gets really floppy over time and loses its structure. But this is a thicker yarn and it's knit at a tighter gauge, so I think this will be the ticket to the hat that I like. Another thing, and this might sound a little weird, that I really like about this pattern is the fact that it takes up a lot more yarn. It's one of those, this happens a lot with like sock knitting where you knit a whole sock and then you're left with quite a bit of leftover of yarn after, and then I don't know about you, it kind of ends up just in a scrappy bin that I only go back to every now and again. So if I'm going to knit something, I would like to use up as much of the yarn as possible, and I feel like that's the case with this pattern. So I'm really excited to have this done, and it's definitely motivating me to finish spinning up the rest of this fiber so I can have this hat, because there's a lot of other spinning projects that I've been wanting to get to as well, and I just have not been spinning as much as I want to. So this is the push that I need for that. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about how this one's turning out so far. If you watched my last video, at the very end I talked about starting to cross stitch for the first time. I have embroidered in the past. I haven't gotten too into it, but there's something I've just been really wanting to cross stitch a lot lately. One of my best friends does a lot of cross stitching, and she makes some beautiful things, and it inspired me to try it out as well. So there is an Etsy shop that I've been looking at for quite a while, and I think the company is called Owl Forest Embroidery. Yeah, it's called Owl Forest Embroidery. The pattern that I am using for the cross stitch is mushroom hunting. I just love the folky look of this pattern, and I feel like it kind of tells a story throughout the whole thing. And I also kind of like how big of a project it is too. I know it might be a little weird to take on such a large cross-stitching pattern for my first time, but I don't know. It's been really exciting, and it's been really, really fun to do. It's kind of one of the few things that I just really want to do right now. I just love seeing how it all unfolds. And so I'll show you how far I am on my hoop here. Hopefully you can see it okay. So I have a little mushroom house at the top, and there's a little lady here. I like to pretend that's me, and I live in this little mushroom house, and I'm just moving on to some more mushrooms down here, and it's been a lot of fun. I think this has taken me about a week to make so far, and honestly, I'm making a lot faster progress than I thought I would with it. I really like the colors that I chose in this as well. I think it matches pretty much all of my decor in the house, so this will just fit in as well. And it's kind of fun to see how the pattern develops in my color palette as opposed to the color palette that was used in the pattern. So I am enjoying this a lot, and I'm really excited to work on it some more today. My plan with this is I have this whole piece of fabric here, and I'm pretty confident the whole pattern will fit on this, and I want to eventually cut it down to size and then frame it with like a cream or white matting background, and I kind of want there to just be this raw edge inside of the frame. I just think that will look really cool, and I already kind of have a spot in my house where I want it to go. The nice thing about this pattern is it's not like too much of a specific season or holiday. I think it's something that's going to look good up year round without, like I mentioned, being too seasonal, because it definitely gives winter vibes, which we're coming into that season soon here, but also can be very fall, spring, and summer. I think it adapts really well. So yeah, I'm just having so much fun with this, and I definitely can see myself doing more cross stitch down the road. I don't know if it would be like another wall decor piece or if I'll do something on like pillowcases, who knows. All I know is I'm really enjoying this so far. Recently I watched a video from those twins who knit, and They made an entire video about socks that they've knit for themselves, and I've always been very inspired by the socks that they make. I think they do a really good job of pairing sock yarns with patterns, and the color palettes are always just so beautiful too. But the other thing that really piqued my interest with that video is that they knit their socks with double pointed needles, and something came over me that made me really need to knit a pair of socks with double pointed needles as well. There's something about the analog process of it. That's just the way that they used to knit socks way back in the day before there were the circular needles. So I ended up buying a sock set of needles here. These are the Knitter's Pride carbons. So they're carbon double pointed needles. And one thing that I really like about these needles is they're metal. I'm kind of sick of like bamboo double pointed needles. I think that's just because that's all I ever knit with double pointed needles growing up. So it feels nice to just have a different material. But the other thing that I like is there's this coating on it that makes it less slippery, and then each pointed end has the metal tip on it. And since they're carbon, they're very lightweight and very rigid, so they have a less likely chance of bending like a traditional metal pointed needle would. And this sock set is perfect. It has sizes ranging from US 0 to US 3, which I think is all I would ever need for a sock set. And I definitely never see myself knitting something with really chunky needles that are double pointed. So that's why I decided to go with the smaller range of needles here. I think I kind of want to get a cuter case for it, like maybe one of those leather ones, because this is just like blah. Why not have it cute? I don't know. But before I show you the sock that I cast on, I want to show you this book that I also got at the same time that I got the double pointed needles. This is the Sock Project by Summer Lee, and it's a sock that I have been eyeing for quite some time now. I always rely heavily on sock knitting patterns for like every type of sock that I make, and I've never really created a go-to plain sock pattern that is just suited for myself. And I figured it was time to do that because I've been accumulating a lot of very pretty indie dyed sock yarn that would look the best probably in just a plain stockinette stitch sock pattern. And so this has been a really great reference on how to kind of create a sock pattern for yourself. So I just wanted to shout out this book because this is what I'm using and referring to for this sock that I cast on. So here is what I have so far with this sock. I am just knitting this first one here. I cast it on earlier this week, and I just did a 2x1 rib at the cuff. I'm just doing plain stockinette stitch, and I just finished the heel flap and gusset for the heel. And this is definitely one of my favorite heels. I really like the way that it looks, and I think it fits super well on my foot at least. So yeah, I am liking this kind of recipe right now. And there's a chance that I knit these a little too big. So the next time I knit a plain one, I think I might go down a size for it, but we'll kind of see how that turns out. I do want to talk about the yarn though, because this yarn is very special. It's the first sock set I ever got from Coast to Coast Yarn, and I actually saved the tag here too. So this is from their patchwork pre-order line. It's a collection inspired by community. So if I remember correctly, there were people that sent in pictures of quilts that they had, and then she dyed different skeins of yarn inspired by those quilts. So I thought that was like a really cool concept and a collab with the community. So this particular color that I have is, there's two colors here. There's Weaver's Dogwood and Archer. I don't know which one is what color, unfortunately, because they came together as a set. I have to say though, I really love the sock base that she has for her socks. There's almost like an elasticity to it. It just feels a little bit stretchier than other sock yarns that I've worked with, which I think is really important for a sock yarn. And the dye that she does is just so beautiful. I think the little speckles are spaced out perfectly throughout the sock without it being overkill as well. I think I don't like multicolored socks that just have way too many different colors in it. I think I like this more subtle tonal with little bits of speckling throughout. But yeah, I just thought this one was really pretty. It called to me and I wanted to knit up a plain sock in it just to highlight how beautiful this yarn is. And I definitely plan to buy a lot more of her sock yarn because I just am loving working with this, and I can definitely see it holding up very well over time as well. After I'm done recording this, I need to sit down on the ground and cut out a sewing pattern along with the fabric as well. I am attending a wedding in exactly 2 weeks from now, and I realized like last week, oh, I probably need to think about getting a dress for this because I don't really have any dresses that I think would be appropriate for a wedding. Like I don't really have anything dressy enough. And I started looking online at different dress shops, like forgot that I sew dresses all the time. So I'm like, why am I looking to buy dresses when I can sew something one of a kind? So I switched from looking to buy dresses, and then I went to Etsy and started looking at dress patterns. And I chose one from SilverSaga Patterns. I think she makes so many beautiful dress patterns, and I've been wanting to sew a dress from hers for quite a while now. And I landed on the Clara dress. I think this is going to be a dress that I can definitely dress up or down, and I also want it to be one that I can wear throughout the holiday season to different parties or Thanksgiving or wherever I would need to wear a dress to. So I wanted to make sure that it wasn't too wedding guesty, if that makes sense. And I wanted it in a very plain pattern, so I chose a solid color, and I wanted to use a fabric that would be appropriate for winter as well. So I ordered some fabric from Core Fabrics. I've never had any of their fabric before, but I've been eyeing it out for a while, and I got the package in the mail a couple days ago, so I'm just gonna open it right now. Here is the fabric that I ordered from them. This is called the Substantial Organic Cotton Broadcloth in the color Mineral Red. First of all, this is a color that I have been drawn to quite a bit lately. I've been wanting to knit so many things in the red family, and this is no exception. And I just love how subtle the color is too. It's not too bright and in your face. I think this is another color that would just kind of fit with every single season throughout the year and not look too fall or too spring. So I think I'll be able to get a lot of use out of this. And like I mentioned, I wanted to use something a bit thicker just because I intend to wear this a lot this winter, and I see myself wearing it with maybe some sheer black tights, and I have some velvet ballet flats that I'll wear for this particular outfit at the wedding. But yeah, I'm really excited, and I always forget I need to pre-wash fabric. So I'm gonna have to pre-wash this before I cut out the fabric, but I'm pretty sure I can still get that all done today. And I wanna show you, I ended up buying another little bit of fabric because when I'm ordering fabric, I'm paying for the shipping. I may as well get a little bit more. A few months ago, I tested the Rosamund blouse by Madswick Design, and as a thank you for testing, I got to choose another pattern for free, and I chose the Maidline tee. I haven't ever sewn with knit fabrics, and I don't ever really make any basics for myself, but for a while I've been really wanting to make a really nice quality t-shirt that will basically last me forever. So I decided to get some knit fabric, and that's what I got here. And this is the organic jersey knit in the colorway teal. So it's 100% cotton, and I think this will be a good material to start out with for making a t-shirt. It's a somewhat thicker knit fabric, and I'm just really excited for this color. I think it's nice and soft and will go with a lot of different things. It's not a color that I have a lot of in my wardrobe, so having this as a t-shirt will definitely add a nice new element to my closet, and I'm really excited for this one. And I'm really excited to try out the core fabric as well. It seems like a lot of their fabrics tend to be more organic and sustainable, and yeah, I'm just excited to try it out. So that's what my plan is for this fabric. But I think that's all I have to chat about today. So I'm gonna wash the fabrics and get going on cutting it. And while I'm waiting, I probably am going to cross stitch for a little bit as well. Today is Sunday, November something 3rd, I think. And I just got back from breakfast with Mitch. It was very good. And it is extra moody outside. It's really cloudy and dark, and it's just perfect weather to be cozy inside and knit and spin. But I wanted to chat about some updates that I have on projects that I've been working on this week. The first one being the hat that I'm wearing. I have finished it. So this is the weekend hat by Petite knit, and I probably talked about it earlier in this video already. I did end up running out of yarn that was already spun up for this hat, so I did have to finish spinning the rest of the fiber to have enough to finish. It takes up a lot of yarn, like a ton. I'm not going to take the hat off because my hair is pretty wild underneath, but the hat itself is like this long, and that's because it has a double fold, triple fold. You fold it up twice, and yeah, I think this is by far my favorite new hat pattern. I already am thinking of more versions that I want to make of it with different fiber that I have that I still have yet to spin up for it. But oh my goodness, it is so warm. It fits very well to my head. I don't think it's going to stretch out over time like some of my other beanies have. And I don't know if it's just because it's knit at a tighter gauge, but the double fold of the brim is really nice. It's arguably too warm on certain days, but today it's perfect. And it's maybe hard to tell in the video, but there's this soft halo from the Angora that I spun into the fiber, and it's just really soft and warm, and it feels luxurious on my head. So very happy with how this hat turned out. I've already worn it probably every single day since I finished it, and I think I finished it like 5 days ago maybe. Yeah, that's all there is to say about that. I have been knitting a ton on the Traveler Shawl, which I have right here. It's kind of hard to show because it's on a cable that's a little too small for it, but this might give you a good idea of where I'm at with it. And this is also using hand-spun yarn. This is for Andrea Mowry's Spin It to Knit It, like knit along. I think the hashtag is DRK Spins the Traveler on Instagram. It's basically, it's a year-long spin along, knit along, where you spin the fiber to make any of the patterns from the Traveler family. And I ended up with a shawl because I didn't have enough to make the pullover, but I'm actually really happy that I am knitting a shawl because I have just really come to love shawls so much, and I definitely want more of them. I'm wearing one right now, actually. This is probably the favorite and easiest one to wear. This is the Sotabosc shawl by Elena Solier. She's Zala Wool on Instagram. And I knit this one a couple years ago. It's an all over cable shawl. It's really big, so it's super easy to wrap around. But tangent aside, I am just really pleased with how this is knitting up, and it's really fun to see the progress of the yarn throughout the shawl. I am getting to the point where I will bind off this section of the triangle and begin the other section. I think you like cast on a side and then you do the decreases until the end, and I think that is really going to fly by. There's something about every row that you're decreasing, it just goes faster and faster and faster, so it just feels like you're knitting faster. And yeah, I'm excited to get to that point. So this I've been exclusively working on for the past few days. I think I just got so into sock knitting, hat knitting. I was working on a mitten, and it really satisfied the need to knit something tiny, but now I'm back into wanting to knit something a little chunkier and a bigger garment as well. I wanted to end this video by chatting about a new hand spindle that I purchased and received this week, along with a new spin along that started on November 1st. And so first I'll show the spindle here. I was able to get my hands on a Mingo Asho spindle, which is a beautiful company. They do a lot of glass work, and they I think they burn images into the wood as well, and they do wood turning too. So they create beautiful spindles, and I've never spun with a spindle with a glass bead. And I think with the spindles, I'm trying to purchase from all different types of makers to really find out what spindles are my personal favorite. And the glass bead is certainly one of my favorites. But I also have to show you, I didn't know they were going to send this with it as well, but they sent one of their glass bowls too to spin into. And this bowl is awesome. It's really heavy, so it sits on my lap and it just stays there. It doesn't move around often. And they also sent it all in this beautiful bag that looks like they just quickly kind of drew an image on with some markers, but I think it's so pretty and just a really nice bag to store the spindle in when I'm not using it. And or if I'm carrying it around, I can stick some fiber in it and it's like a spindle project bag. So this alone I just thought was a really nice added touch to it. The yarn, the fiber that I'm spinning with is really gorgeous. Oopsies. That's no good. Just dropped the spindle. I ordered this braid this summer, and I specifically ordered it in a very fall color scheme because I knew I wouldn't get around to spinning with it until this fall. But this is from Clara yarns. Yeah. It's a really pretty label. And this fiber is just so luxurious to spin with. I totally forgot what the fiber even was after I purchased it, and I didn't even look at the content. And when I started spinning it, I'm like, there's something special about this. There's kind of a sheen to the fiber that I'm spinning up. And so I looked at the contents and it kind of makes sense. It's 50% Polwarth, 30% llama, and then 20% Tussa silk. And the silk content in it is definitely what's giving it that sheen. But this is just really lovely to spin with. And the colorway of this is called Disguise. I don't have any set plans of how I'll apply this yarn up. I did see on Madison Montese's latest YouTube video, she talked about how she plied some fiber using a chain ply, and I really loved the way that skein looked once she plied it all up. So I kind of thought it would be good to try out a new technique. I always want to learn as much as I can and more things within the craft. So I think my plan is to learn how to chain ply this fiber, and that'll kind of create more of a gradient look instead of a barber pulling look, I believe. So that's my plan. I don't really know what I'll use it to knit with. This is just one of those projects that I'm enjoying the process, and that kind of ties in well to the spin along that I'm spinning this a part of. So the spin along is hosted by the Peahen on Instagram, and she's one half of the people who are behind Spanish Peacock, which is a really lovely, hard to get spindle maker. But I actually was able to score one once, and this is the spindle of theirs. So I started the spin along on their spindle. It just felt appropriate. But the spin along is called the Gratitude Spin Along, and I think there's just a really good message behind it. So the rules of the spin along are just to spin for like 10-15 minutes a day at least. And you can spin on whatever you want. I've been spinning on spindles, but you can do your wheel or however you spin your fiber. And it's about just taking a moment to be grateful for something in your life on a daily basis. And I think this is definitely something that I personally have needed a lot lately. I've been kind of struggling a little bit in the mental health department. I've been feeling extremely overwhelmed, and I'm sure I'm not alone. There's just so much going on in the world right now. I'm recording this pre-election, so, there's those pre-election nerves. And I just think it's been really good for me to just sit down and as I'm spinning, just think of something that I'm grateful for, whether it's something really big in my life or even something as small. So I started day one being grateful for having a washer and dryer in my house, because there are so many years that we didn't have one because we lived in an apartment, or like the house we were living in didn't have it. And just something as easy as having a washer and dryer is just something that I'm grateful for. And I know that may sound silly, but those little moments have just been really helping me out a lot. But yeah, I think that's where I'll end this video. I hope that you all are having a wonderful fall, and maybe you can sit and just take one moment to think of something that you are grateful for as well. I hope you have a good rest of your week, and we will chat next time. Bye.